I want to talk about a woman from the internet. Her name is Anna Bay. She runs the company School of Affluence. I think she's the creator and the teacher of it. She empowers women, and I want to describe her correctly because I think what she's doing is a good service to a point. So she empowers women, I believe, to be able to get affluent men to take care of them. And I think that's a great thing to be able to teach women. She teaches women etiquette, style, skills, and whatever they need for them to be able to get with, find, and I believe I could use the word capture an affluent man. Now, my contention with her, my disagreement with what she teaches is I believe, this is now my opinion, that she disempowers women using evolutionary psychology reasoning. In one of her latest videos, which I saw a few of her videos, I saw a few of her posts on social media. And if you're the kind of girl who wants to capture or get or have the skills and etiquette and whatever you need to be able to capture a man who is affluent, I think what she does is a great service. She teaches a lot of important stuff. I would encourage you to actually follow her. Now, my disagreement with her on her latest video as of this shooting is she went over evolutionary psychology reasoning to disempower women to believe that they must rely on a man. That's where my disagreement with her begins. And so, if you don't know me already, I'm a huge proponent for the emancipation of women. And I think what she propagates is a fair thing. She propagates against the standard, which the standard is that women who must rely on a man is a bad person because of this whole women's independence and feminist movement thing. A lot of feminists don't like her. So my take on that is it's completely okay, 100% all right to be able to rely on a man. 100% okay, I'm on board with that. So long as that's what you want and the communication is clear. Because for certain, there are instances where women must rely on the man. For example, child rearing. If you're, for example, a woman does get pregnant, it is put off the market for a certain period of time to be able to child rear, to raise a child. That's an important opportunity if that's something you want. That's important that the man recognizes that he must take care of this now family. And my contention with a lot of people who have this is that they don't have the communication beforehand to be able to facilitate that kind of environment. And so I have nothing against women relying on the man as a very, very good thing if that's what you want and it's communicated forthright at the outset of the relationship. Now, my contention is that she actually teaches the mindset. My disagreement with her is that she teaches women the mindset using evolutionary psychology to rely on a man. And so, if your goal is to be able to rely on a man, and your goal it requires that, that's fantastic and that's good. And I have a lot of friends who do that. And some of them do that professionally. They get hired out, their elite courtesan, and they hire out the provider, the man provider, as a professional relationship. And that's fantastic. If that's something you want, that's good for you. Now, to teach someone to only rely on a man, if that's not your goal, but in fact make it your mindset, well, that's something I contend with. That's something I absolutely disagree upon, because let me go address her evolutionary psychology reasoning. I want to make sure my audio is on. Her evolutionary psychology reasoning, put simply, I saw in the video, it's very clear. She believes that we evolved to be hunters and gatherers society. And that's true, except that we no longer live in that specific environment where the only way we can survive is to combine the physical presence of male human and the ability, the only use of women during those times, which was not non-physical, but to produce offspring. We no longer, in other words, live in an environment where the male's sole purpose was to provide survival using physical health, and we no longer live in an environment where women's sole purpose is to childbear, is to produce offspring. And women have evolved certain things in their nature to be able to facilitate that thing. But we now live in a society where we don't have those sole purpose. You can now be a woman and decide for yourself whether or not to have offspring, to have a child. And even if you had a child, you also have this many different aspects of your life where you can really find success in. In fact, thousands and thousands of companies are women-run and are better off being run by women. And also, there are also societies run by women, tribes run by women. Do you recognize that not all tribes have evolved? There are many different tribes that evolved over many different ways that they survived throughout history and even unwritten history, millions of years. There are tribes run by women in which women, they go into season and they hunt for men, and they knock on the men's doors, the women in the tribe, and they force the guy to have sex with the women. There are tribes run by women. My point is that there's not one way that we have evolved as a species to run tribes. And so going back to today, right now, even if you were to decide to have a child, you still have the tremendous opportunity to have success for yourself and run companies on your own and run companies for yourself and become completely an independent person. Now, I don't believe that Anna Bay is saying that you can't be an independent woman. I don't think that. But when she used evolutionary psychology reasoning to propagate that women must rely on men, I have a deep contention with that, disagreement with that. So we now live in a society where you as a woman are tremendously empowered. You don't actually require a man, although men are amazing, are terrific. And men, if you're listening to this, please don't disappoint what I just said. There are a lot of men that are, not all men, let's just say that. Not all men are amazing, but women and men have this terrific arrangement where they have attraction with each other for the reason, well, let me just say a feminine and a masculine individual, whether or not what their sex is. There's a fantastic dynamic where they find attraction with each other and they can work together. And in fact, that's what we did evolutionarily. We worked together. There was no such society where there was only women. And there was no such society ran and evolved and survived where there were only men. We worked together to survive as a species. Now, if you really want to go back to the very beginnings of our genetic pool, our genes have only one purpose and one purpose only, very selfish purpose, and its sole purpose is to have these two amazing individuals or sexes, the male and the female, so that they can survive and replicate. And replicate merely a mechanism for survival. Our gene's sole purpose is to survive. So there is no such evolution where there were only male, and there's no such evolution where there is only female. What makes the human amazing is that you have both male and female. So we evolved based on our environment, having those things working together, not separate and not selfish. And so now we come to this society where women are tremendously empowered and men are empowered as well. And we can work together, doing what we'd want, being able to communicate clearly what we'd like, what communication we'd like. If the woman were to, for example, want a family, then she would require a man to be able to take care of that family. It doesn't actually disempower her at all to not find success or not own her own company. In fact, a lot of households are women run, and that's fantastic. And so when you make these clear arrangements, you now have the freedom and empowerment to be able to run your life, to see it as you see fit. And you don't have to think that you're disempowered to believe that you evolved to rely on men. That's absolutely not true. We evolved to work together based on our environment to be able to survive, and replication, a mechanism for survival. So what I empower you to do is to recognize as a woman that you can make a choice. You can rely on men. That's fantastic. That's great. As a provider, you could even not rely on men and just make the arrangement that the man provide. And that's great. But never believe for 1 second that you evolved to be less than men, or that you evolved to rely on men. Do you understand? Not all societies evolved with male-run societies. Some tribes, even evolutionary before written history, have evolved with women-run tribes. So here's what I encourage you to do. Number one is go to www.greatrelationshipsyou.com and learn the entire gamut of relationship building skills. And I would encourage you to read this, Relationships 101, Forbidden Secrets of Love, Sex, Happiness in the Male-Female Dynamic. It's on Amazon. Search for Ron, R-O-N-E-J-O-H-N, and you learn much more of the evolutionary reasoning of how relationships have come to be. What do you think? Share it in the comments below. Share this with people who might appreciate it. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Influential women and men come in all mindsets. Absolutely. And much better when they can communicate completely directly.